Hello, it's great to be with you today. Today it's time for Monday Motivation. The title of my talk today is Choosing Joy with Depth. As women, many of us reach a moment after a hard season when things finally begin to settle down. The crisis has passed. The ground feels steadier beneath our feet. And yet, even then, joy can feel strangely out of reach. We're just not certain how to move forward from where we've been. Not because we don't want joy, but because we don't quite trust it. I'll explain more. When you've lived through, major loss, a critical illness, prolonged stress, other traumas, joy can feel complicated. It can feel fragile. Sometimes it even feels inappropriate, as if embracing joy means minimizing what you've endured or moving on too quickly from something very painful that really impacted your life deeply. If we haven't met previously, my name is Terri Sterk. I am a wellness coach and an author. I serve women like you and like myself, those who have experienced challenging seasons. My goal is to help you nurture wellness of your body, your mind, and your spirit. So today I want to talk about what it means to choose joy with depth, not surface level happiness, not forced positivity, not toxic positivity, but a grounded, honest joy that grows from your lived experience and carries wisdom with it. Because new horizons, the future, doesn't require a perfect map, but those horizons do require courage to move on, to move forward. And choosing joy after hardship is one of the bravest choices that we make. So why does joy feel so risky after a hardship? After difficult seasons, many women unconsciously adopt a posture of emotional guarding. We learn to brace ourselves to stay alert, to expect the unexpected. That vigilance once served a purpose. It helped us survive. But over time, it can quietly crowd joy out of our lives. I often hear women say things like, I can't relax. What if something bad happens? If I let myself enjoy this, it- I'll jinx it. If I'm joyful, does that mean it didn't really hurt? That what happened to me didn't really happen? Do I just let that go? The answer is no. Those thoughts don't come from weakness. They come from your lived experience. We don't, we'll never forget them. And we shouldn't try. We need to feel the feels. And joy is one of those. Joy requires vulnerability. And that openness can feel unsafe after we've been through painful experiences. So instead of joy, we choose seriousness. We stay prepared. We stay guarded. We stay emotionally on watch. But here's an important truth. Staying guarded long after the storm has passed can prevent healing from fully taking root. Joy is not a denial of pain. It is a sign that pain no longer gets the final word. Joy after hardship is not shallow, it's deep, it's strong. It will carry you forward to your healing. Some of you who've been through this may understand what I'm saying, but if you don't, listen on. One reason joy feels so confusing is that we often mistake it for happiness. But happiness is different than joy. Happiness depends heavily on circumstances, on how things are going, how we feel that day, or whether life feels easy or hard. Joy with depth is different. We may not feel happy, but we can feel joy. Joy with depth acknowledges our grief. It remembers our loss. It honors all we've endured, and it chooses engagement with life. This kind of joy is quieter. It doesn't need to announce itself or prove anything. It often shows up in ordinary moments. Maybe it's a strong, I don't know, a strong um, morning. And what I mean by that, it's an ordinary moment, but wow, is that sunrise beautiful? A calm morning, a funny morning, a shared laugh with your children or your spouse, your parents. A sense of peace arrives without explanation. Joy with depth doesn't ask life to be perfect. Life is definitely not perfect. It simply asks us to be present, to recognize the goodness around us. And presence, true presence, is where the healing continues. You know, I speak from my heart because I've been there. I understand joy. I found it and it sustains me to this day. There are a few quiet beliefs that often stand between you and joy, and they can block you from moving forward. One is the belief that joy means forgetting what happened to us. But choosing joy does not erase your story and create some new fabricated story. It continues on. It takes your story and carries you forward differently with wisdom instead of weight or uncertainty. Another belief is that joy must be earned, as though suffering long enough somehow qualifies for goodness later on. Definitely not true. And joy is not a reward. It is not something you have to justify. It is a part of what makes us human. And perhaps the most difficult belief is to release the idea that joy makes us vulnerable, and I don't want to feel that way. I want to be strong. Well, vulnerability is what helps us heal. In truth, joy makes us vulnerable, but vulnerability is not the opposite of strength. It is a form of strength. Closing your heart forever may feel safer, but it costs far more in the long run. Choosing joy, even cautiously, is an act of resilience. But choosing joy with depth does not mean forcing you to feel upbeat. It means creating space for joy to arrive naturally, letting the light in, and not waiting for the next bad thing to happen. It often begins very small. It's up to us to recognize it It might be letting yourself enjoy a quiet cup of coffee while you're sitting quietly and not rushing. It might be noticing all the beauty around you in the sky or in your own home, or the people that support you and love you. Sometimes we don't notice the beauty around us. We just dismiss it as the same old thing, but it's not. It brings you joy. So pay attention. It might be laughing and allowing that laughter to land without guilt. I feel joy and it feels good. Joy with depth can coexist with honesty of where you've been. You can still say, I'm still healing. I'm grieving. I don't have everything figured out. And you can also say, but I enjoyed the time I spent with you. I enjoyed this moment at the dinner table. I enjoyed my coffee this morning. That's not a contradiction. That's emotional well-being. That's steadiness as we begin to heal. I'd like to read an excerpt from my book, Devotional for Women, 90 Days of Encouragement. I will read from day 37, titled Grief and Joy, a Paradox of the Heart. The scripture for day 37 is, so with you, now is your time of grief, but I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. That's from John 16:22. It's common to experience a variety of feelings simultaneously. One of the most heartfelt examples is the coexistence of grief and joy. Sometimes we're surprised to find both feelings alive within us all at once. I'll move on. We all face grief at some time or the other, whether through the loss of a loved one, life's disappointments, or deep personal struggles. But this verse assures us that while sorrow is real, it is not the final word. We find steadfast joy through him, rooted in his unchanging love and presence. This joy is not about ignoring our pain. It's about embracing God's promise that our suffering is temporary and that joy is on the other side. So even in the depths of grief, we can see this joy when we trust the words. The promise he gives is a hope that sustains us through the most challenging times and lifts us beyond what we see or understand. So it is possible to hold grief and joy together, demonstrating the promise and your resilience. And when joy appears, even briefly, you don't need to analyze it or apologize for it. You can simply let it be and enjoy your newfound joy. I want to leave you with this reminder. Choosing joy does not mean you have arrived and you're fully healed. It means you're willing to live again and continue to heal. Healing is a journey, and finding your joy will help you on that journey. Joy with depth is not loud and a performance. It's steady, it's grounded, it's brave, it takes courage. And if you feel unfamiliar with this feeling right now, it simply means you're still learning to trust the calm after the chaos. Joy slowly reveals itself as we allow light back into our life. It is our choice. You can choose joy with depth. So here's a gentle reflection. What small joy have you been resisting? And what would it look like to let it in just for today? You don't need a perfect plan or a roadmap to guide you. You only need to give yourself permission. Permission to feel deep joy. That's what I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. And as always, I'm cheering you on.